Hello music creators, Mike here, and in this video you will learn and master the amazing Arpeggiator in Omnisphere. So let's dive in right now. And if you watch to the end of this video, you will get a super powerful bonus tip. So I loaded up this Synth Oscillator, and for arpeggiated sounds you generally want to go with a short attack time and short release time. Alright, so to go to the arpeggiator, you click on Arp here, the final button, and this is the on button. Now the first thing you want to do is to choose how many steps you want in your pattern. Let's say we go with 8 steps. Next, you can decide which notes are played with these steps. If nothing is selected, if I hold down any notes, it will run like this, but nothing is heard. So now you can, for example, choose number 1, number 3, let's do double here, and then like that. So now you have a pattern. If I hold down one note, you have a pattern. You can make pulses with this and so on. So that is the length of the pattern, which notes are played, and this little bar here is the velocity of each note. So you can choose if you play the velocities by key, meaning the keyboard velocity you play the keys with, or the ARP. So full on ARP, these guys here, these bars will set the level. So you can go from, let's say, having an accent there, there, and there. So these are now lower. As long as your velocity value actually makes a difference for the amp envelope, which is decided by this controller here. This controller decides how much the velocity controls the amp level. Alright, so back to the arpeggiator. The length of the pattern, which notes are played, the velocity levels. Then we get to the next most important values, which are the note levels, which sets how long is one of these beats for. Is it an 8th note pattern? Or is it 16th notes? Perhaps 32nd? So that's basically the speed. I rarely adjust this because I want it synced to a note value, so don't mind the speed value. Then if we go to this here, decides when you play chords, if I hold down, for example, 3 notes here, how will those be played? You can put it on a chord, which means all 3 notes will basically play staccato. But in most cases, an arpeggio should arpeggiate, right? So if you put it on up, it will go up. You can put it on down. Up, down, which is my personal favorite. And so on. So you can also put it on, I like to put it on like chord, if I just want to play one note at a time, like a pulse, like this. Right? So let's go back to up, down, so we have an arpeggio pattern. Okay? And of course this note value will be different depending on the BPM of your track. So it will adjust since it is synced to the note value here. Then, so I will usually skip this and I won't go into this legato. Well, you can experiment with this. It's basically how it syncs with when you press the play button in your DLW. But this length knob is really important because the bars here, how wide they are, actually can change. So this is on full. You can make it pluckier, shorter, by doing like this. This adjusts all of them. You can also add swing, which is making it, well, swing with a groove instead of following perfect grid values. So while I was changing this, everyone is changing, right? But what if you want some notes to be longer and some shorter? This is not something I've seen in any other arpeggiator in a synthesizer. You simply hold down the Alt key on PC or Option key on Mac, right click or left click here and drag like this. So you can make, let's say we make these guys here longer, the accents longer, and these shorter, like so. So we have... So not only do you have the accents in velocity, meaning level here, but also in how short or long they are. So Option or Alt key, left click and drag. You can also make them different lengths. So this decides the main or the core length note value, but you can, if you double click here, for example, on the 2, that will make this, if I only single click like this, it's 2 separated notes. But if I double click, that is basically now an 8th note, double the 16th note. Right? And you can do this by simply dragging, again, Option or Alt, left click and drag it outside here. So you have it slightly longer than 1/16th note, but not entirely. See? Really, really, really powerful. Then, if we get into the really cool experimental aspects of the arpeggiator, these boxes above each note. So let's go back to this and extend it like so. Here, it says none now. But what you can do is for every step, you can apply one of these effects. So you can transpose it. Let's say we start on an octave lower, like that, if I hold down C. We can put this on transpose 7 up. So you can basically create a riff with this. You can also, if we extend this note here, create slides. So it slides into the note, let's say like this. Or chords, if you hold down a chord. So as you can see, this is up down. So all other notes will play as one note, as an arpeggio. This note will be a chord. Now it's starting to sound strange, but I just want to show you what you can do. You can even choose what kind of inversion you want that chord to be on this step. You can do high-low, so it plays the lowest note. You force the lowest or highest note on this particular beat in the arpeggio pattern. Again, if I hold down a chord. So this is now the lowest of the chord notes I hold. And this is one of my favorites, the step dividers. If I do step divider here, you can see it will do a little stuttery thing here. You can really hear it. Let's do it with a shorter value. It's very, very fast. And there's different types of these. Let's do 8 notes so you can... So you really hear that it adds some kind of stutter, you might say. Now, when you put all these aspects together, you can really start to create really complex riffs and patterns. And that takes us to this Arpeggiator presets. Of course, you can hit this to initialize the arp, like that. And now you start from scratch, if you want to. Always, this arrow initialize here. Or you can choose one of these presets, right? Left click here. You have lots of arps, bass lines, chordal combos, effects like this here. And it loads up. Like that. I mean, starting to sound like Mario Brothers on Nintendo. Yeah, so you can go in here and choose some kind of ARP. Most of these are really crazy. So I usually prefer to create my own. For example, I even created and saved, because you can save your Arpeggiator presets, standard pulses like 16th note pulse. It is only one note here, but it is 16th note, so it simply plays 16th notes straight. Let's reduce it so you really hear it. Right, that is something you can do as well. And now it's time for my bonus power tip. And finally, my favorite feature of it all is you can record your patterns. If I drag this to the right here, record your patterns and drag it into your sequencer. So let's do an up-down like this. And then if I click capture here and then set, let's say, 2 bars. And in fact, let's extend this so we have some differences in velocity values. So we have the accents on 1 and 4. Like that. Let's shorten them and then capture 2 bars. Hold down the chord. Recording in process. And I mean, when you release it, recording finished, and you see these little arrows here, just left click, drag it into your sequencer. And now, since I recorded, the Arpeggiator turns off, because what do you get? Well, if I go into the piano roll editor, let's move it up, zoom in. This is the arpeggio we just created as MIDI. Do you realize how great this can be? Because you can create patterns, use them for string ostinatos, and layer up on other synthesizers, and so on. So that is the pattern, just a simple C chord arpeggio. But of course, you can even set this to record a longer arpeggio pattern, like even 16 bars from, let's say, if you record a chord progression here, set this on 8 bars, for example, play it after you have pressed capture, and then Omnisphere will generate that arpeggio pattern, and you can drag it to another track to create a new rhythm from your own chord progression. Now choose which video you are going to watch next, or you can check out the amazing bonuses in the video description.